And hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly. This is Adventures in Woo. This video, this podcast, this episode is another one of the monthly one card 47 divinations that I do here on the channel. Essentially patrons over on Patreon, where else would they be, send in a question that I subsequently then ask the 47s by taking one card from the deck and interpreting it and giving some sort of advice or some sort of perspective or some sort of look at the questions they might necessarily have thought of before. If you want to in on this, just join the Patreon at any level, and the first of every month or in and about, I will put up a post where you can put up your questions. Sorry, just before we get into this, that it's not going to be one of the videos where I managed to go out and about and have some lovely scenery. It's just me in the office. I have a busy week this week. Some things have to just fall through, I suppose. So yeah, enjoy this one static shot of the office. Joe Swift. Hi Tommy, my question is, how can I increase my client base? The dead. So, I'm not saying it's saying that you should get into necromancy and somehow raise the dead and then for them to be your clients. But what I would say is to look to previous experiences, to people how they did it. What are the people who've gone before you in the situation you're in? How did they increase their client base? How did you do it historically? What were the things that happened when your client base did increase? Or the people who were in this job or who were in this kind of area, what did they do? There's some sort of knowledge from the past, or like that whole thing of success leaves clues, that if there's a well-worn path that leads to the goal, then why not do that rather than trying to do something different for the sake of it? So it would suggest that there is something in it that you can do by looking at what other people have done, what you've done in the past, and then working out when it has been successful for you. Doesn't preclude, I suppose, you could ask the ancestors for help too, but it seems a bit more practical to me just on this very quick reading. Alice, question is, should I stay where I am or relocate for work? These are interesting questions because when you say, should I stay or should I relocate, and you get a card, which one is it answering? Should you stay or should I relocate? So I'll see what the card is and then we'll see how it interprets. Gatekeeper, that would say relocate, right? I would at least suggest that you look at it from a different way, that should you stay or relocate, there is something that you need access to, that you will get access to by doing something. And relocate seems the most obvious thing to do because it's a new area, it's a new place, all of that kind of stuff. Then you might be able to in some way get access to something in your area too. I don't know, say you're a bread man and you deliver bread and you go, should I stay here and deliver bread to the people I've always delivered, or should I relocate to somewhere else that more bread will be sold? Well, I suppose the gatekeeper would say that there might be an opportunity in your area too if you just get a new route or a new, take over someone else's route, or you start some mafia war where you are the bread man taking over all the bread delivery in the town. Yeah, so it's the idea, seems like relocating, but there could be access to something in your area, but something new has, some new area has to unfold, or you have to get into. That would be the suggestion. Craig, what's July looking like for me? Protester, the protester. So it could be straight up, you could be having to protest something might be working out in your favor and you have to stand up for yourself. Or, things are not as you want them to be, or you think things are unfair and you have to, again, protest, give out about it and, stand up to it. It can also be about, speaking your own truth and having your own voice and be sure about yourself, not let your opinions or your views be overridden or shut down by other people, but expressing them, even if it means having an argument, even if it means making other people uncomfortable, but rather than just kind of giving in or acquiescing to the people and events around you, to hold your own and to stay somewhere within it. And be solid within all that and express yourself. Now, the two kind of things are, there's one that if you feel there's something unfair, you have to go out and kind of be antagonistic to the world or to the events that are surrounding you. But if it's just speaking your truth, then only speak it when it's needed. Rap on people's doors and go in and start speaking your truth. If the situation arises where you feel you're being contracted into playing a particular role that isn't you, or that you're being forced into a situation, then speak your voice. But don't just go around to random people on the street telling them what you think of the world. Do what you want, obviously, but that would be the suggestion that's coming out of the cards as I read them at this moment. Andrew. Hi Tommy, many blessings to you and your family, and likewise, Andrew. Which servant should I work with this month so that I may be a better service to my fellow beings? The Master. So the Master obviously is a bit mastery, and it can be mastery in a spiritual sense, but I suppose it can be mastery in any kind of sense. So if you are a coal miner, then you try to master coal mining and be the best coal miner you possibly can be. It's not necessarily saying that you have to be the best coal miner in the world, just the best one you can be. It's about your expression to the highest, to zenith, or the highest ideal of who you are. So it would be about trying to approach the world through the best interpretation of as your best self, and work towards being your best self. Be that spiritually, be that in your job, be that in your family, be that in your relationships, be that in how you treat yourself, be that in all things. So some form of mastery or your better self. Grayson, how does July look for me? The media. Media is around kind of spin, I suppose, or public relations, or presenting your best true self, or a particular self, but presenting something. It's not necessarily an outright lie, because that would be more covered by the moon, but it's twisting things to your advantage, or telling a story in such a way that you become the way you want it to be. I was going to say you become in the best light, but I mean, you can twist the story so you become in the bad light if you wanted to. So it's just that you're in some way bending or making the truth malleable in order to tell a story or present yourself in some way. It's also kind of, how are you being viewed by other people? How is the world viewing you? How is your relationships? How you're presenting yourself to the world? Are you in some way presenting yourself in the world that you're not getting what you want because people think you're a pushover, or people think you're, I don't know, it's something nasty or something argumentative, or people think you are too generous and that they can take stuff, whatever it is, like that, both positive or a negative type trait that you're presenting to the world. Is it getting you what you want? So have a look at how you're presenting yourself, how you're presenting your truth, how you're presenting who you are, how you're presenting to other people and to the world who you are, who you feel who you are, and who you feel that you want to be, and how you want to be treated by others. And then see how you would think other people are seeing you. So see from both sides. Have a look at what you're deliberately doing to present yourself to the world, and then see how that would be seen by the other person, and see if it works out, and if there's something that you would like to augment or change, or maybe it's just something to consider and go, no, I think I'm on the right track, or whatever. But around this idea of public relations, how you present things, like the same incident can be presented in two different ways, but they're not lying either side. It's just the spin is on one side more than the other. So it's kind of feels a bit like that. If you were a wonderful, generous, open-hearted person, but you find that when you're a generous, open-hearted person, that the world treats you in a certain way, and so therefore you have decided that you are going to then be a bit more harsh with people, close your heart down a bit, build a bit of a wall around you to protect yourself. And so what it's saying is to have a look at that and see if that's working out for you. Or the opposite way, do you need to build some sort of protection or present yourself in a tougher way than you normally would? Cat, what should I be focusing on this month? The Saint. So the Saint is a number of things. It's about intercession, or it's about getting help from an expert, someone who is able to do the thing you want, or is in a position to put in a good word for you in a certain kind of way. So like, it's not just about if you have an issue with your plumbing that you get a plumber. It could be that if you want to get a new job, or you want to get a promotion, that you don't necessarily have an aim with the person who will give you this promotion, but your friend does, so they could put a good word in for you. It's like that petitioning of a saint in Catholicism, where you ask them to pray for you, to pray to God for you because they're closer to God, or they have an in with God, or something like that. It's around that kind of sense. I suppose looking around you and seeing, is there any kind of places that you're not, I was going to say exploiting, but that's a bad word, or if there isn't people you're exploiting. Is there any kind of relationships or experts around you, or people who can put in good words, or who can help you out, that would in some way lead you closer to where you want to be? And equally, is there something you can do? Could you be the expert, or could you be the person who put in the good word, or seeing what are you good at? Could I lend my skills to someone else? What are the people around me? What are they good at? How can I kind of augment that? So say you're in a team, and there's someone who's particularly good at using Word, and one person is particularly good at using Access. The Saint would say, make sure that the person who's good at Word is the person who's doing Word, and the person who's good at Access is doing Access. So it's that kind of a thing. So just be aware of what people, including yourself, what they're good at, and make sure that you're utilizing them in that way. Chromium, to the point. I'm thinking about a particular journey. Is it the right time, place to go, or would it be better to wait for now? The road opener. Well, is it the right time or place, or would it be better to wait? It's the right time or place. It's the road is open. Away you go. Simple answer, straight to the point. Max. Servants. What can your magical stands do for you this month? Max, is this a JoJo reference? I feel it's a JoJo reference. Healing. Okay, that's interesting. So send good energy, positive vibes. Treat them with care. Treat them as you would someone who's in a, not necessarily in a time of need, say, but someone who's, if you have a resource, I suppose, at some point you're going to have to, it has to be rest, recuperation, and that kind of thing. What I'm hesitant here is because it doesn't feel like they're anywhere in they're weakened, or they're sick, or there's something wrong. So it's not kind of, it's not hospice care, or it's not looking after them as a sick thing, but it's, care for them, look after them, be nice to them, cherish them, understand them, spend some time with them where you're not asking for something, where you're not asking to them, just, because the whole idea of the servants is that they feed on attention. So give them attention without kind of looking for something. Just, meditate with them, be with them, send them Reiki, send them energy healing, do something nice, send them some energy, send them whatever you would do. Say you had all the healing powers and someone came to you who wasn't sick. What healing would you send them? And see what comes out for that. Good question, Max. MJM, what can I do this month to increase the amount of joy in my life? The messenger. Be open to messages. Be open to being told. Be aware of what the universe or people around you are trying to tell you. Often in the messenger, there seems to be a kind of thing where there is a message already there that we're just not looking at, not accepting, or not hearing. To increase the amount of joy in your life is to look as you go out through the month to see where joy is trying to get the message through to you. This could be joy. We could find joy here. This is joy. And look for it. Look for it. Cultivate joy. Rather than looking for, I suppose, in a sense, for events to happen and then I can be joyous. Cultivate joy and make things joyous. Get the message. Hear what it's been said to you. Joy wants to say something to you, so listen. Natasha, how do I draw them to me? The road opener. In new ways, by not doing what you have done previously. So by that I mean is it's not doing more of what you've already done. If you've been very generous to them, say for instance, it's not about being more generous, that you just haven't given enough. Or if you have been hostile to them, it's not about being more hostile. Something completely new. A new way of looking at it. A new avenue. Allowing a new possibility. The open road ahead. Yeah, I mean, that's not specific, obviously, but the question's not specific either. Even to a point of doing a road opening ritual. Do something, well, do one of the standard road opening kind of hoodoo stuff, or call on Ganesh and ask for obstacles to be removed. Do an actual thing that will open the road for them, to draw them to you, so that there is no barrier to them being drawn to you. That's maybe it. Something new, something different. Thomas, how do I stay more organized and focused with all the good things in my work? Nice question, Thomas. No. That was not your card. This is your card. Messenger. My first thing is to say, being that it's the messenger, is probably to switch off Facebook Messenger. And that you might be a bit more organized and focused without any kind of distractions. But let me see, that might be kind of where it's going. Yeah, so if you're looking to be more organized and focused with all the good things in your work, then you have to kind of, I suppose, allow them to come true. Or here's an example. Often, say if someone, an artist, someone creative or whatever, say writes a book and they get 10 amazing reviews on Amazon. This is just the best book that's ever been written, ever. Obviously, the person who wrote it is extremely good looking. I can fault it in no way. And then, the 11th review is, this is the worst book that has ever been written. Obviously, the person who wrote it is an extremely ugly man. Okay? Which is the review that you reckon that the author's thinking about that night? It's the 11th one. So it's to allow the messages of the good to be prevalent, to come to the forefront, and not to focus on the dissenting voices or the critical voices. It's not to say that you should ignore critical voices because they're a great way of learning, but dissenting voices that seem to have to offer nothing other than critique, or in some way put you down or try to contract you or put you in a box or do something like that. So that would be what I would suggest, is to concentrate on the messages that are good. I'm not completely ignoring the other ones. Take from what you want from it, but don't obsess over that 11th review that says that your book is not good, when you have 10 reviews that says it's the greatest thing in the world. So that's it for another month. I hope this was helpful to the people whose questions were asked. And even I hope it was helpful to the people whose questions weren't asked, who they can see how I would approach reading something from one card, one question, and kind of where I went with that. An awful lot of these things, I find the cards can be a good kind of starting point to kick off kind of a brain, or kick off your brain into going in a particular direction. It's like a stone being dropped into water, and the ripple is actually the thing, but the card is just a stone dropping into the water, and you can kind of just go from there. And depending on how woo you want to go with these things, allow your intuition to answer the question that's been asked. Of course, with all of these things, I would advise you to look at divination as advice from a friend rather than the word of God. It's not the end all be all. It can often be wrong. The way to look at it, and the way I always look at it, is that if you are sitting with your friend, a good friend who you trust, and you're just having coffee and you explain the situation to them and they give you advice, you could take it on board, but you wouldn't take it as the word of the divine. You wouldn't think it is 100% true, but you're seeing something from a different perspective. You're maybe looking at it in a different way, thinking about it from a different angle, and that can be quite helpful. I think that's the kind of safest, best approach to any sort of divination, because you can get, if you got a bad card as far as you're concerned, you can kind of make that a self-fulfilling prophecy, where if it says you're going to have a crap day, you'll be looking out for everything that's going to be crap, and then in the day, and then by the end of the day, you've had a crap day. Even if subsequently it turns out that the card wasn't talking about that it was something else, you still can do that. So I would suggest to take it as seriously as you would someone who you trust. So, good people of the internet, if you want in on this, as I said, around the first of every month, the first day of every month, I put up the post over on Patreon, and patrons from any level can send me questions, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. So, good people of the internet, may your best days be ahead, and be well.